Good morning, everyone. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Miraculous. Today is, say it with me, people, it is Friday. If you are on video or have a sensitive ear, you will detect that I am back at home. I'm so happy to be back home. Uh, so yeah, that was a lot. If you've been following along, I had to do an emergency trip to Tucson because my mother fell, and in a total cliche, she broke her hip. The other thing that happened that was great was my friend Kelly Robson flew to Santa Fe on Tuesday so that she could help out with David and sort of, I know she like really cleaned up the house for me because she's a miracle worker and she's lovely. So she's out in the casita. At least the casita is coming in good for something, right? And I brought my mom's cats back with me, so the cats are staying at the casita for now. I did get some work done on editing Among the Thorns on Wednesday. I definitely made it through. It's funny. It's either 27 pages or 129 pages. Then I finished. I finished. Shall we repeat that? I finished. Yeah, so I actually got the book finished on Wednesday morning, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I reported to a couple of my friends that miraculously I had uh, finished the book, and one who is a non-writer said, it's really that you're the miracle worker. You're amazing that you can work through this. And I said, well, that I feel very fortunate that I can work through difficult times. And she said, well, I think it's more than luck. And I was like, no, I mean, I count my blessings. I feel like I'm really blessed that for me, the creative work is grounding. And I know for a lot of people, any level of anxiety or emotional tumult or upset completely derails the creative process. And I don't know why that's different for me. I mean, there's certainly, if I had been drafting, I don't know if I could have done it. But doing the editing work on Wednesday, I was feeling very, very blue. And one of my friends, and thank goodness for my friends, you all got me through this. One of my friends said that I needed to that I should try to just accept that I was going to feel bad, which is, I tend to be a more upbeat person, and I'm kind of chemically a happy person, and I like it that way. Uh, but I was saying things like, I should be doing better than this, and uh, they gently suggested that you're saying, I'm hearing you say a lot of shoulds, and maybe you should just let this experience be what it is, which is good advice because you don't have much choice. That analogy of it being a literally traumatic experience, and that I basically had my hand on the red hot stove and was not allowed to pull it away. Could not pull it away. You have to go through it. And I mean, that actually helped. So every time that I was like going up to La Caca and dreading dealing with my mother's emotional state, which was valid. I mean, I did understand. I didn't blame her for being upset and hating it and everything being awful because it was La Caca. But at the same time, it was really hard for me to go there. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to go. So the temptation to run away is tremendous. But I couldn't. I had to get through it. Whatever it is about doing the work, like, my every time I kept spinning and thinking about all the emotions. Every time that started to take over, I would just focus on the book. I'm like, get this done. You need to get it done. And that's one of the things about being a career creative when it's your freaking job to get the work done. Um, you have to do it. You have to find ways to make yourself do it. And I know that that's not always easy for everybody. And I know that I'm blessed to have decent chemistry. Um, I will give myself credit for that. I have spent a lot of years developing mental concentration and mental peace. I do yoga, I meditate daily. I've done a whole lot to cultivate peace of mind. One thing that my yoga teacher said that really stuck with me And it was kind of a random remark. She said, "So now just let yourself fall into that deep yogic breathing state that is the one that is easy and natural for you to fall into because you've done it so often." And I thought, wow, that's true. That I can sit down in my cross legged position and fall into that deep breathing state pretty fast. And it's not something that you can do if you're like just starting, right? But because I've been doing that for so many years, it's like the writing habit. It You don't have that dread and procrastination that get in the way of it, and it's actually easier to fall into doing the work than to allow myself to keep spinning. And so I don't know how to advise people on this because I know that for someone who struggles with anxiety and depression and so forth, and I have several friends that I talk to about that a lot, that really gets in the way of the work, that they cannot work because the anxiety directly prevents it. But if there are ways for you to find developing that natural pattern where, um, those 2 days when I was alone in that house and my mom was at Lakaka, it would have been very easy for me to uh, just drop into collapse, to spin out. For me, it feels like spinning out. But the work was grounding, and it was like, okay, do the work, just do the work. And then I finished the book and turned it in, and they're all like, "Oh, early, hooray!" because my deadline was the 1st of December, and I'm happy with it. I think I did do good work. So yeah. On Monday, we had toured the new place called Brookdale in Tucson, and it was lovely and fabulous. Tuesday, I went to see my mom, and she had a new roommate at the awful skilled nursing. Just the whole skilled nursing thing annoys me because really, the skilled nursing at Brookdale is amazing and wonderful, and it actually seems like skilled nursing. And the skilled nursing at the other place, um, which let's just call it La Caca, at La Caca, was basically a nursing home. My mom did not have a private room at La Caca, but she had gotten a new roommate come in on Tuesday, and the previous roommate had been a Fox News blaring woman who yelled at us anytime we talked too loudly. So that wasn't ideal. So my mom was actually having more fun on Tuesday, which was great, except that I thought that we could move her Tuesday. I mean, it was this whole thing of like the paperwork going through. Narrator's voice says it did not go through. The gal at Brookdale didn't want to move my mom in the evening. She said she much prefers to move people in the middle of the day because it's just better for the patient and better for everyone, which I can totally see because after the Saturday evening debacle, after my mom was already sundowning, and I mean, that was horrible. One of the worst experiences of my entire life, which I hope never to replicate. Except now I know how to do it. Right? We learn how to do these awful things through trial. Right? On Wednesday morning, I went to see her early. The La Caca opened at 7, so I went to see her at 7 to see how she was. Had my coffee with her. I was in the house by myself Tuesday and Wednesday nights, which I don't mind being by myself, but it was hard to be in that house with just me, where once it had been. There we go with the tears. My mom and my stepdad and my husband David. We had a lot of great years in that house. So yeah, 20 years in that house, uh, and some, great, just a lot of great times. We have to, you know, enjoy the things that were great. I actually thought I would get through this without crying. Silly me. I'm actually doing okay. I'm feeling much more steady, but I have a very thin thin skin. Maybe I know I've ranted before about not liking that term. Uh, it doesn't take much to break through the crust of composure. And then so Wednesday we moved her to the new place, and everyone, it's chalk and cheese. It is so wonderful. It That afternoon after we got there, we had a bunch of different people come in to see us. The nurse practitioner came in, and he was great and incredibly knowledgeable, and we went through her whole medical history, and she got evaluated for, like her physical abilities. They were professional, but there was a little bit of eye rolling about what had happened at Lakaka. For example, they had put her on medication at 60 milligrams, and the nurse practitioner is like, "We start that at 20. This is insane that it's at 60." And I'll just tell you, it was fluoxetine, which is apparently a mood, like an antidepressant. And it was probably because she was so miserable at La Caca, so they just like, I don't know what, dosed her, right? Yeah, I mean, they must have just like dosed her with it that Saturday night when we got there, when she was so angry and upset. Very interestingly, see, I hadn't been happy with my mom's general practitioner either. My mom has had pulmonary embolisms. But anyway, the nurse practitioner was telling us interesting things, because the other thing that had happened was when my mom was originally in the emergency room this time, she'd had an atrial fibrillation that they couldn't recapture. They couldn't find again. And he was like, "Oh, well," and I told him, I said, "Every woman in our family dies of strokes. We get dementia and then we die of a stroke." And he said, "Well, you probably have a genetic clotting disorder." And I was like, that's me pricking up my ears. I'm like, "What? Nobody's ever said this to me." And he said, "Yeah." He says, "It's not common, but it's also a thing." And he suggested that I get tested for it. And he said also that ghosting atrial fibrillation is part of it, which my aunt has also had, and she is also on a blood thinner. So, which I'm glad she's on it. So he thinks I should do like a harness test, like the couple weeks or a month long, because that's the only way you catch this occasional atrial fibrillation. And because the blood flow through the heart goes down, then you're much more likely to throw clots. So isn't that interesting? And like nobody's ever, our medical system is so uneven. And I mean, the care is just amazing. She has her own room. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. I picked out an apartment for her in the assisted living, which is actually just upstairs from where the skilled nursing is. So she'll have the same practitioners, the same care all the way through. Uh, and we'll figure out the level of assisted living that she needs. And it's just yesterday morning when I went to see her, she said, "Are you going home today?" And I said, "Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't planning to come home till Friday, but I thought, you know what? I need to get home." And so I took the opportunity. So I ended up, packed up the cats in the car and left about 2 o'clock, got home at 10. And it's, sleep in my own bed. I slept so well, and just being in my own home and all of that. And knowing that she's in really good hands. And I feel conflicted about this, because I got a call on the drive home from the admissions gal saying that between her Medicare and her secondary insurance, which is very good, it's TRICARE, that she's 100% covered for 100 days in the skilled nursing. So that's fantastic. But also, she has enough money coming in and saved that, I was just going to figure it out. But the people stuck at La Caca, which is entirely Medicare, um, I left out a piece that because she has this fracture, she was only supposed to be putting 10% weight on the injured leg. And at La Caca, they were just having her use the walker and doing full weight on that leg. And we had a long conversation with the PT person. They're like, "Why were they having her do that?" And I'm like, "Why do they do anything at La Caca? Because it's La Caca." It was easier for them, right? They don't care about. I mean, maybe they care. There are probably people that care. The physical therapist there seemed lovely, and some of the aides seemed very nice. But they're understaffed, and probably by business design. And so the faster they can get my mom in and out of the bathroom, the better, right? And if that means putting weight on that leg, that's more important to them than that bone healing the way the orthopedist said it needed to. And it's sad, that recognizing that level of privilege where once I got my act together, that I could move her out of there and get her in a place where she's getting the best care. That's wonderful for my mom. And then I feel really bad for like this delightful roommate that we left behind, who's, her choice is Lakaka. So there we are. Anyway, I am going to recuperate. Kelly and Megan, I believe, have plans to make me like sit in hot water and think about nothing. I want to go see Wicked for good. Um, it's going to be good. I'm not going to do any creative work until Monday, but I do have some business to do. And yeah, I think, thanks to all of you for your very kind messages. And Dina Kunzman sent me this. I probably got that name wrong, didn't I?